You know, Charlie was going to introduce me, but I'll do it myself. Hello, everybody. You're not very enthusiastic. Hello. Wonderful. I'm Brian, and this is Bob. And today, I'm going to interview Bob and talk about his career, but so make a warm welcome for Mr. Bob Picardo.
Thank you. I love this voice of God sound we have here.
Hello. Well, anyway, we're in Scotland, so if we start off and talk about Scotland. Have you been to Scotland before? Are you enjoying your visit so far?
I am enjoying my visit very much, thank you. And I have been here, I think, about half a dozen times. I came for the very first time at age 19 with my then girlfriend. And I remember buying a Harris tweed jacket that I only recently got rid of because I loved it so much. So yes, this is my 6th time here. Last night I went to the Stand Comedy Club. And when they discovered I was in the audience, they brought me on stage and made terrible fun of me. So that was fun as well.
Well, that's the thing about your characters and all of the roles you've played. Most of them are very easy to make fun of.
Well, they called me a word that I can't say on camera right now that I've never been referred to before. They called the doctor a certain term that was actually quite fitting. But as I said, it's a 4-letter word, and I can't say it in front of children. So you'll have to come to the comedy club. I'm going to return, and they'll probably say call me that again sometime next week.
Okay, well, Star Trek Voyager as the Doctor was sort of your main sci-fi role, but you appeared in things like Total Recall as Johnny Cab, you were in Inner Space. You've done an awful lot of science fiction. Was Star Trek Voyager your favorite out of all of what you've done?
Well, it's wonderful for any actor to have a signature role. And I would have to say that Star Trek, because of the nature of the franchise and how long it's been around and how new generations constantly discover it and watch all the old shows, that I would say that that's probably my favorite role and certainly the one that I'm most recognized for. The J.J. Abrams movies, the rebooting of the franchise, has brought us a huge influx of young fans that see the movies and then go back and review all the old television series. So I think the Star Trek franchise, like the Doctor Who franchise, is in very good health. And I realize that you guys had the first and most famous science fiction franchise on television, and I respect that. I realized that when I played a character called the Doctor that I was ripping off 50 years of British television. Now 60 years almost, and I want to formally apologize for that.
Okay, well, you went from Voyager and you ended up in Stargate Atlantis. How different were the two series, and also the character was a sort of bad guy, good guy. Which did you prefer? What did you feel about it?
My character in SG-1, Richard Woolsey, who was eventually to take over command of the Atlantis expedition, was introduced as a one-off, just a bad guy for one episode. The episode was called Heroes, and it was so good, and it was 10 minutes too long. So the producers went to the Sci-Fi Channel and said, look, we don't want to cut this. It's too good. What if we fill it, we add some filler material, and then we'll turn it into our clip show. Part 2 will be, we'll take famous scenes from the rest of the season, and we'll write some filler material and make it a 2-part episode. So I was hired to be the filler material. Richard Woolsey was just a connective, a reason to reuse clips from earlier in the season. As you know, their doctor had died tragically, and Woolsey was sent from this sort of think tank group to discover whose fault it was that this tragedy had happened. And I was a very unlikable, really unlikable, priggish, nasty, humorless character. Then the producers decided they liked me, and they had painted themselves in the corner by introducing me as a villain. So every time they would have Woolsey back, he had some slight improvement in his character. He was a jerk, but he was a jerk who meant well. And then the next time I was a jerk who meant well, who at least knew that he was a jerk. And then I was a jerk who meant well, who knew that he was a jerk, who felt bad about being a jerk. I mean, every time I had this new little tweak in the character that made me more likable. And ultimately, I got a call from the producer saying, we'd like you to be the new leader of the Atlantis expedition. And I said, wait a minute, guys. I'm an ass. Nobody likes me. I have no leadership skills. I'm a coward. I've run away from danger. And they said, don't worry about that. We'll fix all that. And I went, okay, let's do it. So I think I was the most redeemed character in the history of Stargate. Went from a very black and white bad guy to an interesting, multifaceted guy who was trying to reinvent himself later in life.
Well, that's all on screen, but what about voice? It's a case of you're in all of the Call of Duty in various things, and you're in Call of Duty Black Ops 3, which is out in the fall. Are you going to tell us anything about the game?
Well, it's under a veil of secrecy, and if I say too much, I will be killed. I'm the first actor to be in all 3 installments of Call of Duty. I have the best stuff to do this time around. What I can tell you is I play a very shadowy, ambiguous character, aptly called the Shadow Man. I'm not going to say he's evil, but I will say he's unreliable. If he gives you advice, it might not be the best advice. I co-star with Heather Graham, Ron Perlman, Jeff Goldblum, and Neil McDonough in the zombie level of play, and it's all set in a kind of a zombie film noir. It looks like a 1940s film noir movie. It's really, really cool. The graphics are amazing, and I think it's going to be a huge success.
With the Star Trek stuff and the Stargate stuff, you never ended up getting involved in alien makeup effects, so you were never going to be Quark or Rene Auberjonois being Odo. It's a case of, was there any roles you had where makeup got involved? Or with Johnny Cab, it wasn't, they must have had to do a cast of you in some way.
The very first heavy makeup role I did was in Joe Dante's The Howling in 1980. I played the werewolf killer Eddie Quist. That began my long friendship and association with Joe Dante. Thereafter, I was hired by Ridley Scott to be the witch in Legend, the Tom Cruise movie from the early 80s. And I did one other major makeup, actually 2 makeups, in a movie called Explorers, which was Ethan Hawke's first film when he was 14 years old. My swan song to make up was Johnny Cab, where I don't actually appear in the movie. It's a model of me that's molded on my head, and I did the voice for that. So I have not done any heavy makeup for a long time. I've grown a little too claustrophobic. But for those of you who don't know, I was very, very nearly cast as Neelix in Voyager and not the Doctor, through my own stupidity. They asked me to read for the Doctor. I read the script and thought Neelix was a better part, mostly because it was bigger. It's described him as an alien, but I said, how bad could the makeup be? Maybe a little rubber ears like the other guy, right? So I had my agents call the producers and say, how long will the makeup be for the alien? Mr. Picardo wants to know how long the makeup will take. And they said, we'll get back to you. And when they got back to us, they said, more than 15 minutes. Which is true, 3.5 hours is more than 15 minutes. But fortunately, I did not get the Neelix role. I tested for it, I came this close. They hired Ethan Phillips, and then they asked me to reconsider and come in and read for the Doctor. And I didn't understand the joke of the Doctor. It was a very small part in the pilot. He was described as colorless, humorless, a computer program of a Doctor, which did not sound like a barrel of laughs to me. But I read the lines, and apparently they thought I was funny. And I know that the reason they cast me was in the final audition for the network with the entire room full of producers, the Star Trek producers, the heads of the new network, the heads of Paramount Studio, Paramount Television. They were all watching me read the lines for the first time, and I only read them once. They had seen 900 actors for this role, is what they told me, and they wanted somebody funny, but I didn't think the lines were very funny. So I ad-libbed a line that I'm quite certain got me the job. After the last scripted line, when they've left the Doctor's program activated in sickbay and he has nothing left to do, I had the following line. I believe someone has failed to terminate my program. And I took a long deadpan look at all of the people watching me, and I said, "I'm a doctor, not a nightlight." And they laughed heartily and hired me that day. So for that cheap DeForest Kelley ripoff, I sent my children to college, and I'm proud of it.
Everybody likes that story. What is there for Bob Picardo now? What have you been working on? Have you done some theater recently?
I'm about to start rehearsals for the classic Stephen Sondheim comedy, A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum. I will play the lead, a part made famous by Zero Mostel, later played by Nathan Lane on Broadway. He's a slave, a conniving slave who wants to win his freedom. And I'll be doing it at the Oklahoma City Rep. It's really just an opportunity to play the role and hopefully to get my, my theater juices burning for my return to New York, as I plan to move from California after 35 years in the desert. I'm going to go back to New York like a lot of my Voyager compatriots, Kate Mulgrew, Ethan Phillips, and because that's where I began my career. It feels right to go back. And then to work in some of the television shows that are shot in the New York area. That, you know, when I left New York, there was no nighttime television shot there. Now there are 35 shows that are shot around, in and around New York, and use the New York talent pool. So I think it's a good time to return to my roots.
Sounds excellent. I think how much time have we got? Anybody want to tell me? 2 minutes left, so we'll try and get one more question. You say your compadres on Voyager. It's a case of where are they now? Who are we trying to keep up with? I know Kate is on Orange is the New Black.
Kate is on Orange is the New Black, doing very brilliantly. I love her character and I love the show. Ethan Phillips has been in at least 2 Broadway shows over the last couple of years. He was in All the Way with Bryan Cranston. In fact, he's also in the HBO version of it that they're shooting right now. Those are, I think, my only 2 Voyager colleagues that have moved back east. But we all see each other, and we had a reunion of our entire cast at the Las Vegas convention this past August, which was quite moving to have all 9 of us on stage together. We all really love each other, and it just felt great. And to see Kate and Jerry, you know, getting along so marvelously after those silly rumors that, you know, that they didn't get along, and to have that all finally put behind us, to have us all together and so warmly greeted by the 6,000 or 7,000 people was really a terrific treat this year.
Any aspirations to direct? Roxanne's directing, Robbie McNeil's directing.
I directed a couple of Voyager episodes very successfully, had no interest in being a director. Robbie and Roxanne both are brilliantly successful at it, but most importantly, they enjoy doing it. I think there's no reason in the world to be a television director if you don't enjoy it. It's far too hard a job. Roxanne has a wonderful new series that hopefully is going to take over for Downton Abbey in the States when that show ends its run, called Mercy Street, which is about Civil War nurses. And she's directed the first 4 out of 6 episodes. Robbie is producing and directing a show called Girlfriend's Guide to Divorce. And as I said, we're all very close friends. We see each other regularly.
Very good. Well, I think we're out of time, so we want to say a big thank you to Mr. Robert Picardo.